Hi everybody, this is Warren Herman, and today what we're going to speak about is something that can be very important for understanding our journeys in life. This concept comes from the ideas of Kempo Karate. Kempo Karate uses this teaching of the tiger and the dragon. It explains that when someone enters into the practice of the martial arts, they begin like the tiger. They kind of are focused on external power. They can have this kind of ego-y type way of dealing with their training. They kind of are invested in kind of outward things about the training. And then if they continue with the path of training, they will become like the dragon. And the dragon is much more subtle, obviously, a kind of a mythical creature that flies in the air, whereas the tiger is a creature that's on the ground. And there's many ways of thinking about the meaning of, the tiger. We could say, the tiger is, he's camouflaged. So secretly we have an ego-driven motive when we start a new path in life like that. Oh, it's cool, I have a uniform. Oh, it's cool, I'm doing moves, I look great. It's like there's this kind of camouflaged way in which there's this predatory motive. But if we, as I said, stick with the path, it becomes something that leads us to be like the dragon, floating above things, being in the sky, this kind of looking down on things, having a much more rarefied and spiritual result. And this is what is viewed as the goal of that practice, is to develop that more spiritual side through being committed to the training and self-discipline. And in the same way, we can really make an analogy between this and married life. So, for example, we could say that the person, the beginning of any relationship is an infatuation type stage often. There's a sense of what can this person do for me? But yet, as time goes on, and then maybe you say, oh, wow, somebody might say, oh, now that I found this person, this compensates for everything I've been through. There's all these kind of egoic or personal motives that get attached to the relationship. And there is that kind of an ego side to it. But the thing is that if the relationship is stuck with, if the person stays with it, then it becomes something that becomes more like the dragon. It goes from the tiger, that camouflaged egoic desire, to that dragon, that more rarefied thing, through the self-discipline of commitment to the marriage. And so that's a very interesting analogy. I also think this is very important to think about with regard to the religious life. Because with the religious life, there is this sense in which the person begins, it's very easy at the beginning of the religious life to discover that we are actually avoiding everything. Say, okay, I've suffered, I've seen the hecticness of the world or the tragedy of relationships, and in different ways, and the person says, okay, I don't want any of that anymore. And so when they begin, there may be this spiritual side to it. It may be okay that they may have gone to the nice, cool pond of spirituality, but there's this element where they are like the turtle, because they are avoiding things in life. But it's also very important to realize that we should not condemn the turtle, nor should we condemn the tiger. It's normal to be infatuated with somebody at the beginning of marriage. It's normal to be avoiding things to some degree in religious life, because we can't escape the fact that we are people who have mixed motives. We just can't. We have to normalize this as part of the journey, because then it also normalizes the purification of those things through the journey, and that is the whole point of being on the journey. The thing is that at the beginning, we take the journey. We are the tiger, or we are the turtle protecting itself. But at the end, we are the dragon. The journey takes us. And I think in the analogy of the turtle, we could almost say the crocodile is what we should really be. You think about the crocodile, he's kind of tough, but he doesn't have a shell. So he's not as defended, even though he is pretty defended. But also he doesn't, the little turtle swimming around, he doesn't stay on land. He always, maybe he comes up, ever goes on a log and then jumps back in. But the crocodile could sit out on land. The crocodile is not as avoidant. The crocodile, has that ability to kind of sun himself out there, and it's that balance of kind of being in the water and out of the water. So it's that balance, just like the dragon becomes that kind of the kind of is the end of the path of the tiger, that exterior path, and the turtle should really instead be like the crocodile. So this is a very interesting analogy, I believe, because it shows the path of maturation, whether in the married vocation or the religious vocation, and it normalizes the path so that we don't demonize any of the aspects we find in ourselves when we begin these paths. So we don't say, oh, it's terrible, I need to stop because I'm avoidant, because I'm going into the religious life, or oh, it's terrible, I need to stop pursuing marriage because I'm actually I'm getting my needs met or something. That's bad, I must be selfish. So it's like we always at the beginning see more selfishness than at the end. And so it's like that's just the way the path is. And the purpose of the path is to purify our selfishness, whichever path we choose. So we shouldn't be shocked that we see selfishness in the beginning, that we see ourselves as the tiger or the turtle. But the purpose is to become the dragon or the crocodile. And so the thing is, obviously, these are kind of creepy metaphors and creepy animals to think about in a Christian context in a way, because they're just kind of scarier animals. I actually think what's really interesting is if we use in the Christian context, one of the images is comparable as the lion and the lamb. In a way, the married vocation or anything that is an exterior endeavor, whether it's the married vocation or any type of path in the world, begins like the lion. But if we are to truly achieve mastery in it, it makes us like the lamb. In the same way, if we take a path that is kind of more otherworldly, like the religious life, it's kind of like the lamb primarily, but at the end it forms us to be like the lion. So it's kind of like, which are we prioritizing? I mean, we could use, it's kind of like which balance are we doing? That's another animal metaphors we could use for this. But I really think that these analogies of the tiger and the dragon and the turtle and the crocodile can be very effective to help us normalize and understand the path that we are on, so that we are not surprised when we notice at the outset that it is us who are taking the journey, we who are taking that journey, but knowing that the whole point of the journey is that eventually the journey is what takes us, and that's what the point of the journey is. And so hopefully this is helpful to you in conceptualizing, accepting, and walking the path that you have chosen.